Hello, and thank you as always for tuning into our monthly market update. Our goal with these videos is to bring you honest, transparent, and unbiased analysis of the Greater Vancouver real estate market. If you find this information valuable, please subscribe to our channel on YouTube, as well as like and share this video on whichever platform you're tuning in on. It's truly appreciated. All right, as the weather outside finally begins to heat up, the market, on the other hand, continues to cool down, creating conditions for buyers that are far more favorable than what we have seen in quite some time out there. Stay tuned to check out the boots on the ground segment at the end of this video for some truly fascinating real-life comparisons of where we are now versus where we were at the beginning of the year. But without any further ado, let's take a look at the numbers. Let's begin, as always, with the sales figures for June, which came in at 2,444 transactions and which represents a 16.2% drop from the previous month. From a historical perspective, this is just over 23% below the 10-year average for the month of June. So even though the news release from our board seems to imply that the slowdown in sales is seasonal, you can see that based on the 10-year average, we are sitting quite a ways below what is typical for the month. Next, let's take a look at inventory levels, which came in at 10,425 total listings for the month of June, which is an increase of 4.1% over the month of May. To me, this is the one to watch for over the next several months because generally speaking, it's best to list your home in either the spring or the fall. So it's not uncommon for inventory levels to drop over the summer months, but if sales continue to sputter through September and this number starts to balloon, then there will be significant downward pressure on prices beyond this initial turnaround that we've already seen up to this point. And so, as a result of sales figures decreasing and inventory increasing, our months of inventory has now jumped to 4.3 MOI, which is now fully reflective of a balanced market. Again, just to recap, general consensus is that a balanced market is 4 to 6 months of inventory. So to my previous point about inventory levels, if we get hit with a lot of new listings in the fall, this is where the pendulum could swing very quickly into a full-blown buyer's market. Which brings us to our benchmark price figures. Now, if you tuned in last month, you'll know how I feel about how this is calculated by the board. But even with their annual model readjustment, the board is reporting that a typical home has dropped in the region in price, and they are now reporting it at $1.24 million, which represents a 1.6% decrease over the previous month. But how does this translate into the real world? Well, that brings us back to our new favorite segment called Boots on the Ground. So, from a boots on the ground perspective, we are continuing to see buyers yielding more and more power in the deals that are happening. Just a short time ago, even if you had the luxury of doing a home inspection and you went back to the seller to ask for certain items to be fixed or for a price adjustment in lieu of those items, you would get laughed right out of the room. In the last 2 months, however, we've had several deals where we were successfully able to negotiate credits for our buyers based on the inspection results. It really comes down to leverage. And unless you're a seller that is sitting on a really unique, really great product that you can be 100% confident will sell for the same price as the offer you've just accepted, chances are you'd rather not risk losing your current buyer and going back to the market. So you end up accepting reasonable credit or price adjustment requests. The other thing that I wanted to show you is a couple of real-life examples of the true differences in prices now versus the peak of the market, which happened during the first few months of the year. So first, let's take a look at a complex in Coquitlam called Gable at 688 Edgar. On June 13th, a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom home sold in the complex for $920,000. But in February and March, exact same homes were selling in the complex for over $1 million. Here's Unit 101 that sold for $1,010,000 in March, and Unit 103 that sold for $1,025,000 in February. So that's basically a $100,000 decline in price in a matter of 3 months. Next, I wanted to share with you some examples of what we're seeing in the single-family detached market, and the area I wanted to show you is Clayton Heights. Now, the reason why this area works so well for this type of exercise is because many of the homes are quite cookie cutter in terms of living space and lot size. Most have 3 bedrooms upstairs and either a 1 or 2 bedroom suite in the basement. So here's a very recent sale from June 17th, which sold for $1.385 million. Now, let's look at very similar homes that were selling in the area at the beginning of the year. Here is 1.625 on February the 4th. Here's 1.675 on March 28th. 1.682 on January the 19th. 1.706 on March the 7th. And last but certainly not least, we have a whopping 1.85 mil on February the 14th. A Valentine's Day to remember for the seller, to be sure. So 1.385 versus 1.85 is an approximate 35% difference in price. Now, those are the outliers, but as you can see, there were plenty of other examples that showed significant price drops from the peak. But I will mention this again. If you're in the market, it's all relative. If you sold that townhouse for $100,000 less than your neighbor and you ended up buying the single family detached for $450K, heck, even $200K less than the guy 3 months ago, you still made out very well. And remember, those people who paid 1.85 likely also sold their home for much higher than they would have today. Lastly, we are just coming off the peak of the market, so these differences are all the more amplified because we are working with the outliers at the very top. Although I do believe that there will be some level of continued downward pressure on prices, I also think that things will stabilize and the differences in the comps will be far less drastic than the examples that I just showed you. Alright, that's it for me for this month. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and I'll catch you right here in about a month's time. Take care, everyone.